Hello, Linda. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Paul.
Good,
How are you?
good.
Paul, there was an error in the agenda. So we are going to
Okay.
have planning and zoning go first,
Okay.
and then you will have wetlands after.
All right.
And it also means that we can't start until 6:05 p.m.
All right. Well, because yeah. Because our public hearing starts at 6:05. Oh, no, it's printed 6:05, right? I see. Got it.
Oh.
Are we waiting for someone?
Yeah, we're waiting for 6:05 because we have to do PZC first for some reason.
Oh,
That escapes me, but
There
oh,
was a
because-
noticing error.
oh, noticing error. Okay.
Yeah, on the agenda for IWA, it says that it begins at 6:30. So
Oh, okay. So
we're
that's
going
what.
back to
Ah.
your usual habits. So,
Oh, I see. Okay, I got it. So we're just waiting for 6:05 to come around on the guitar.
got it.
It looks like we are 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7? There's 7 of us here?
No,
Wait a
no,
minute.
there's 8. There's 8. John
One.
DeVivo's not in yet.
Okay. There's 8. That means there's 2 missing.
Oh, yeah.
Should
I counted 9.
counted 9.
Well, Laurel and Craig are both of your alternates are here.
Okay.
So
Okay, I see now. I see Laurel. Okay. So it's only DeVivo. that's
it's
missing.
actually 10. Yes. Yep.
Okay, now it's 6:05. It's legal for us to start the way we promised we would. Okay, so I called to order the March 7th, 2022 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission at 6:05 p.m. Members present are Aho, Corsi, Chandy, Cooley, Cotton, Frattoni, Plant, Ward, and alternates Manville and Woods, and
Manville.
Mandel. Manville's the one. Manville is up this time. Okay.
Yes.
Seated for absent member DeVivo. Okay, we have
Up.
Recording in progress.
oh, do I have to start over?
It should be recorded on YouTube. So this is
Okay.
this is our backup.
Okay, all right. We have minutes from February 22nd. Someone like to put those forward? Sarah?
Of course, he moves that we accept the minutes as written.
Okay, moved by Corsi. Second by Ward. All in favor? Okay. Passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, it's not unanimous. I am
Oh, it's-
abstaining.
Oh, you're
Sorry.
abstaining. Okay, sorry about that. Okay,
I'm sorry. And,
abstention.
and can Manville confirm for the record that she listened to the recording?
Sorry. Oh, I should have, sorry. I realized I should abstain as well.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
I have
Two-
not
Two
fully listened to
abstentions.
the recording.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Any questions for Jeline? Okay, if not, we can move on to the public hearing. Is this one where we read a notice, Linda, and also, do the
All of the
boilerplate?
goods- all of the instructions. Would you like me
Okay.
to read those, Mr. Chair?
please, thank you.
All right, and while I read those, just for the public at home, I am going to share my screen so folks can see the public hearing information in case they would like to call in. So good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Painter. I'm the Director of Planning and Development. And as a reminder to all participants, including members and staff, please state your name before speaking. For those viewing at home on live stream, please understand that there is a 1 to 2 minute time lag due to transmission delays. If you'll be providing verbal testimony during the public hearing, you can call into the meeting at any time. We will take a few minutes after the applicant's presentation to give people time to call in. The guidelines for the public hearing this evening are as follows. The purpose of tonight's hearings is to receive relevant information about the proposed application from the public. Order and decorum shall be maintained at all times during the hearings. The commission reserves the right to adjourn the hearing to another date and time if the discussion becomes unruly and unmanageable. Given the virtual format, we ask that everyone bear with us if we encounter any glitches. If we are unable to overcome technical issues and/or the commission is having difficulty understanding meeting information presented in this format, the hearing will be continued to another meeting. The order of presentations this evening will be the applicant, which is in this case the commission or staff presenting on their behalf, and then public comment, first in support, then opposition, and then undetermined or a request for additional information. When addressing the commission, please state your name and address and any party, group, or organization you represent, if any, for the record before beginning your comments. Limit your comments to the subject of the public hearing, avoid repetition where possible, summarize reports and letters that are submitted to the commission rather than reading them aloud, as all written information is copied and distributed to members. Direct all questions and comments to the chair. Do not attempt to engage in dialogue with members of the commission, staff, or any other parties to the hearing. Speak clearly to ensure your comments are audible to members of the public watching from home and are recorded. Commission members may ask questions of anyone providing testimony, but will not discuss the relative merits of the application until the hearing is closed. Failure to abide by these policies and procedures may result in a muting of your microphone or in dismissal from the hearing. Instructions on how to participate in the public hearing are listed on the agenda. For those who would like to call in, please call 1-929-205-6099. Enter meeting ID 878-8803-211 and passcode 672588. Again, that's phone number 1-929-205-6099, meeting ID 878-8803-211, and passcode 672588. If you encounter any problems calling into the hearing, please call 860-429-3330 and a staff member will assist you. And with that, Mr. Chair, you can proceed actually in 5 minutes into the hearing. So
Oh, because we have to start at 6:15, right?
6:15, yes.
Okay, all right. So it's at 6:15, I'll take the roll and open the public hearing.
Correct. So you can have it's 6:11 now. So in 4 minutes, and I will leave the slide up for anyone watching from home to give them time to call in at this time.
Okay, at 6:15, the public hearing is opened with members present: Aho, Corsi, Chandy, Cooley, Cotton, Tony, Plant, Ward, and alternates Manville and Woods, and Manville is seated tonight.
And DeVivo on the phone.
And DeVivo. Oh, DeVivo's on the phone. Okay.
My internet's down, but I'm going to go find another computer, but I'm on the phone listening.
Okay. All right. So DeVivo has joined us, and Manville has temporarily been stepped down. Unless DeVivo can't find a means of communicating. Okay, so do we have a public meeting notice?
So, Mr. Chair, just for the record, this is Linda Painter, and the public hearing that you are opening is scheduled for 6:15 p.m. Proposed amendments to Article 3, Section A of the zoning regulations to extend the temporary and limited moratorium on cannabis establishments. PZC file 907-51, and I do have a few items that I will need to read into the record. So bear with me. I'm going to start with the actual legal notice, which was published on the February 23rd and Tuesday, March 1st. The Mansfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold the following public hearing on Monday, March 7th, 2022 via a web-based virtual meeting to hear comments regarding the following application. At 6:15 p.m., proposed amendments to Article 3, Section A of the zoning regulations to extend the temporary and limited moratorium on cannabis establishments, PZC file 907-51. No information from the public shall be received after the close of the public hearing. Additional information regarding this application is available in the planning office. Paul Aho, Chair, Bureau Ward Secretary, and this was again published in the Chronicle. We also did refer this out to the 3 councils of government that represent our adjoining communities as well as the communities themselves. And we did receive comments from both the Capital Region Council of Governments dated February 17th, 2022. I will read the comment portion of this into the record. The staff of the Regional Planning Commission of the Capital Region Council of Governments has reviewed the zoning referral and finds no apparent conflict with regional plans and policies or the concerns of neighboring towns. The public hearing date has been scheduled for 3/7/2022. In accordance with our procedures, this letter will constitute final CROG action on this referral. Questions concerning this referral should be directed to Christopher Henchy. Respectfully submitted, Jennifer Bardis Early, Chairman, Brendan Malone, Vice Chairman of the Regional Planning Commission, and signed by Christopher Henchy, Transportation Planner. You also received comments from the Southeast Connecticut Council of Governments dated February 18th, 2022. From Samuel Alexander, AICP, Planner 3. Dear Mr. Aho, I am writing in response to an application to amend the zoning regulations of the town of Mansfield. The application was referred to this agency pursuant to Section 8-3B of the Connecticut General Statutes. The proposed zoning regulation amendments seek to establish a temporary moratorium on cannabis establishments as defined by Public Act 21-1. Based on a review of the material provided, I have determined that the proposed zoning regulation amendments will have no negative intermunicipal impact. If you have any questions, please contact me at 860-889-2324. Again, Samuel Alexander, Planner 3 with the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments. In addition to those communications, you do have an agenda item report from me dated March 2nd, 2022, as well as 2 communications from the public, one from Jake Baxter dated January 18th, 2022, and an email from Ron Cotterill, and I apologize, it did not have the date. So this was received on Saturday, March 5th, 2022, and was added to your packet today, given that it came in over the weekend. So with that, I will just do a brief overview of the proposed amendment, and then you can open the floor to any public comments. I will also note that this was referred to the town clerk and the public notice registry as required by statute. The proposed amendments would extend the existing moratorium. As you recall, back in June, the commission adopted a 9-month temporary and limited moratorium on cannabis establishments. At the time that you had adopted these regulations, the legislature was in the process of reviewing proposed amendments to the statutes to legalize adult use cannabis in the state of Connecticut, but the actual legislation had not yet been finalized. Since the adoption of those amendments, the commission has been working on a framework for regulating these types of entities. And based on meeting with the Regulatory Review Committee, the recommendation was to propose an extension at this point to give the commission time to seek public input before drafting actual regulations. The other change, so the proposed amendment would extend the moratorium, which currently is scheduled to expire on March 31st, 2022. It would be extended until December 30th, 2022. The other change that is made in this in the amendment as proposed is it eliminates references to Governor's Bill 888 because we now have an actual piece of legislation to refer to, so it doesn't refer to Public Act 21-1. It also deletes the definitions that were included within the regulations at the time of the original adoption and replaces it with a reference to Public Act 21-1 and the terms and meanings ascribed therein. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, you can move on to the public comment portion of the meeting. And looking at our participant list, it does look like we do have some members of the public present. I am not sure whether they are here for this item or something else.
So is anyone here from the public who would like to speak? Okay, I believe there are none. So any questions from the commission for Linda? If not, yes, Vera.
I'm happy to have more time to fine tune what we're willing and able to do.
It looks like we did just have a member of the public join the meeting. Mr. Rickle, did you have some comments that you'd like to make on the proposed extension of the moratorium?
Yeah, I'm Jay Rickle. I live on South Eagleville Road. I'm sorry, there's a echo.
I'm happy to have more time to fine tune.
That might be B, sorry.
Willing.
I was watching on YouTube, they said if I want to talk, sorry. I just want to encourage you to not wait until December 31st and try to go faster. I think the opportunities for potential business owners, for jobs, for tax revenue, and for consumers are all positive things. And sooner or later, other towns are going to start having dispensaries, and there's going to be less opportunity here. And I think that would be bad for the town. So just encourage, I understand there's a process and it takes time, but if you can go faster than the end of the year, that'd be, as far as I'm concerned, much better. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, we have the moratorium till the end of the year, but we can always, if we finish a month early, we can put it into effect then. We don't have to actually wait till the end of the moratorium, but it gives us some breathing time. Oh, there's a hand up. Yes, Craig, you have a hand up? No, there's a hand. Oh, that must be my computer has put a hand on you. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Any other comments from the public? If not, if we don't have any reason to keep this open, we can close it. Would someone like to move to close the hearing?
This is Chandy. I move close the hearing.
Okay, moved by Chandy. Second by Plant. All in favor? I believe it's unanimous. And so the hearing is closed at 6:24 p.m. Okay, on to old business. And here we have the gravel road business. Request for a retroactive approval of a gravel road and associated culvert wetlands crossing constructed within the Gifford Estates 3 conservation easement.
And
By
Mr.
Ronald
Chair, just
Beatty.
for the record, the hearing was closed at 6:25.
Okay, oh, I need better glasses. What did I say?
6:24.
Oh,
Oh, no, you know what? That was me. Sorry about that.
okay.
24 it is.
6:24. Sorry about that.
I need to recuse myself. Oh,
Okay, all right. Oh, and now we can see John. Great.
Mr. Chair, with the
Yes.
recusal of Ms. Ward, then Manville would need to be seated again.
Yes, that's right. Welcome back, Laura. Okay. Linda, bring us up to date on Mr.
Actually,
Beebe.
this one is Jennifer, so
This is
Jennifer's
Jennifer.
next.
Oh, okay, Jennifer, yes.
Yes, so at your meeting in September, you reviewed this, after you'd had a field trip. Ronald and Lexi Beebe request, and you reviewed the, let me back up here. The Ronald and Lexi Beebe own property at 56 Davis Road. They have a conservation easement on the rear portion of their property. And when the Conservation Commission went to monitor that easement, they discovered that there had been a gravel road installed there. So Mr. Beebe requested retroactive approval of that gravel road. There also had been a wetland culvert installed for the road. And so he was requesting approval for both of those. When you reviewed this in September, you denied his request. And you asked him to put in a permanent barrier barricading that road. And you also had asked if the applicant work with the Inland Wetlands Agency to determine the best course of action to mitigate the impact of the culvert and road on the wetlands. And that I have that in your Inland Wetlands Agency packet. So Mr. Beebe is requesting that you could reconsider this installation of a permanent barrier. He asserts that the conservation easement allows for the use of farm vehicles and that these are the only vehicles that he uses on the road. So that is correct. Farm vehicles are allowed per the easement. So you have two choices here. You can reconsider your motion of September 20th. And I put a recommendation that if you were to reconsider it, you may want to limit the use of that road to agricultural uses such as forest management, and also limit it to the type of vehicles. So I've put two motions in my memo for you. The first is that you that you're upholding your original motion. The second one is that you would permit the use of farm vehicles within the gravel road and associated wetland crossing for agricultural uses as defined by Connecticut general statutes, and that the vehicles are registered with DMV. So that for a farm registration. So those are my suggestions. I just put these forward for your your discussion, your consideration. So there you have it.
Okay, thank you. So what do you think? What does the commission think? Who has an opinion on that? I know what Ken Ron would say if he was still here, but he's not here. It seems like, to me, it seems like a reasonable compromise to allow only agricultural vehicles there. We don't want drag races going on through the conservation area. Someone has a buzzer that's going. Katie, go ahead.
My question is that there's no way to police this sort of thing, that he'll only have farm vehicles going back and forth, not cars. And so I just have my doubts on something like this. It's a little thing, really, in the scheme of everything. But we really don't want anything but farm vehicles, I would think, going on this little road.
Good point. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So it's allowed by statute. Is it okay for us to say no to farm vehicles?
So the way it works, the way the conservation easement is written is that farm vehicles are permitted. The issue really is that this is a road. There's no, the conservation easement did not allow the construction of a road without coming before you for permission. So back in September, Mr. Beebe requested this permission. You said you don't want him, you don't think he needs to remove the whole road, but you want a permanent barrier. So, now he's asking for permission to use that road for farm vehicles. And if he had a permanent barrier, he's saying that he would not be able to do that. So, I mean, you don't have to permit the use of farm vehicles. I think the issue is do you want to have a barrier, or do you want to require that he can use this road for agricultural purposes? I'm not sure. I don't see evidence of agriculture happening on the property at this time. So,
Yeah, Dorian.
I agree with Katie. There's no way to supervise this. So how do we know what he's going to put on this road? This is a road that he shouldn't have had there in the first place, right?
Right.
So we told him he needed a barrier, and now he wants not to have a barrier so he can do tractors, but we have no way of monitoring that.
Well, one thing he is saying is that if he is allowed to use farm vehicles and the road is barricaded, then he would go, it would make more of a mess and cause more disturbance. That was one thing I discussed. He does have a representative on the line. That is his wetland scientist. I don't know if he's able to speak to other issues beyond the wetlands, but I did invite Mr. Beebe to, he did have access to this meeting. I gave him the access codes. Ian, do you want to weigh in on
Yes,
any of this? Or?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. For the record, my name's Ian Cole. I'm a professional wetland scientist, professional soil scientist. The Beebes had retained my services basically to investigate the said complaint and look at it from the perspective of, what disturbances occurred, how did those disturbances maybe affect the landscape in any meaningful way, what is the actual wetland encroachment and disturbance, and what conditions, if any, would need it to be repaired or managed or whatnot. So, I mean, just real high level context, I think that would be helpful.
Ian, I'm sorry to interrupt you. This right now, we're looking at this in terms of road usage and
Sure.
kind of the conservation easement, not wetlands. That will be
Sure. Yeah, no, thank you very much for focusing my efforts, because obviously I'm very wetland focused. Just a couple quick points, I think, for context. If you go back and look at the 1934 aerials for this site, you can clearly see this farm road existing, extending from Davis Road in the same alignment all the way up to 196 there. So there is historic use, and that goes back to when there were many farm fields up on 196. And they were, between there and Davis Road, it was really always kind of wooded and more used for pasture lands and whatnot. But it was, the forest in that area was very thinned down. It was pasture land. So there was a service road existing there going back nearly 100 years now. The Beebes, Mr. Beebe did substantially upgrade that road 25 years ago in 1996, and then top dressed it again, and it looked like around 2012 from aerial photos. It's in good condition. I can tell you that based off going out on the site and looking at the condition of the road, there's no ruts, there's no potholes. there was no signs of any activity in the leaf there. It is used extremely intermittent. You know, so that's what I can say about its usage. And it has not affected, in looking at the definition of a conservation easement for the town, you know, I think I would, you know, argue that, you know, the road and its condition has not altered or adversely affected the natural lay of the land in any way. I mean, this trail really does nicely blend into the landscape, so much so that you know, if you were to take pictures of it in the fall, it's not even discernible in the pictures from the leaf litter. It's very muted. It's very muted and not really used in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, thank you for your contribution to that. Any other comments from the commission? Yes, Gwen.
I just have a question reading this definition of a farm registration. Does the applicant operate a commercial farm or agricultural business?
Not that I'm
on this
aware.
property? Then
Not that
he
I'm aware.
wouldn't be able to register a vehicle as a farm vehicle?
Not unless he started a farm.
Okay,
That's my-
so if we were to allow farm vehicles, then he would not be able to actually register and drive a farm vehicle on the road.
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues is that this conservation easement is written, it's hard. It says that no vehicles except for farm vehicles shall be used on said property without consent of said Mansfield Planning and Zoning Commission. So you can consent to him using non-farm vehicles, but to me, a farm vehicle has to be, I mean, you have to define what a farm vehicle is. It's not defined in the easement. So, and I just pulled something from DMV because
Okay,
yeah.
So farm vehicle is not a term of art, but farm registration is. Does that make sense? So we can define what a farm vehicle is, but we don't have to define it as something that's registered as a farm registration. Or we could. Or we could.
Right, exactly. It's up to you. I was trying to put something out there to start with, and yeah.
So with undefined terms in zoning, we typically do go to the statutes as kind of a first source, and then to the dictionary. So you are correct. You can define, you can determine how, in this case, how it's defined. I'm going to guess the dictionary doesn't have a definition of farm vehicle, but I will check.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Has anything changed between now and when we voted to erect the barrier that we should be rethinking this?
The only thing that's changed is he's asking for an exception to that.
I mean, nothing, right?
Nothing.
Okay.
I can confirm the dictionary does not define farm vehicle. Farm and vehicle as separate terms, yes.
Yeah, there is like a law insider definition on the internet.
Okay, we seem to be having a consensus to continue what we said back in September. Am I correct on that? Am I reading the crowd correctly? Okay. So I think part of the reason why that's a good reason to do that is that when we say something, we mean it for other instances, even if this may seem somewhat trivial. Okay, would someone like to put that motion forward?
I'm happy to put it forward.
Okay, thank you.
I Cotton move to uphold the Planning and Zoning Commission's motion adopted on September 20th, 2021 to deny the request by Ronald Beebe, applicant owner, for a retroactive approval of a gravel road and associated culverted wetland crossing within the Gifford Estates Section 3, Conservation Easement, Ronald Beebe, PZZ File 810, and direct the applicant owner to establish a barrier to permanently block vehicular access through the conservation easement.
Moved by Cotton, second by Plant. Any discussion? All in favor? I believe that's unanimous. So his request is denied. Okay, moving on, we have the amendment to Article 3, Section A, for a limited moratorium on the cannabis establishments. Do you have a motion, proposed motion for that for us, Linda? All of that? Do we have to do all of that to kick the can down the road?
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't realize I was muted. Yes, so.
Okay. Okay, someone whose lungs feel good tonight would like to put that forward.
Can you hear me, Paul?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Shandy, I'll put it forward. Move to approve the amendments to Article 3 of the Mansfield zoning regulations dated December 13, 2021, file number 907-51, to extend the temporary and limited moratorium on applications related to cannabis establishments to December 30th, 2022, 18 months, and modify the definition section to refer to Connecticut General Statutes for meaning of terms. The subject zoning regulation amendments were presented at public hearings on March 7, 2022, and filed prior to the hearing with the Mansfield Town Clerk. The amendments shall be effective as of March 15, 2022. In approving the amendments to the zoning regulations, the Planning and Zoning Commission has reviewed and considered all public hearing testimony and communications, including reports from the PROG and CCOG Regional Planning Commissions, Mansfield's Director of Planning Development, and the Mansfield Town Attorney. The Commission makes the following findings in adoption of these amendments. These amendments are adopted pursuant to the provisions and authority granted by Section 8-2 of the Connecticut General Statutes, which grant the PZC the following: the authority to regulate the location and use of buildings, structures, and land for trade, industry, residence, or other purposes. The mandate to promote the health and general welfare, prevent the overcrowding of land to avoid undue concentration of population, and to facilitate the adequate provision for transportation, water, sewerage, schools, parks, and other requirements. The mandate to give reasonable consideration as to the physical character and context of a zoning district and its peculiar suitability for particular uses, with a view to conserving the value of buildings and encouraging the most appropriate use of land throughout such municipality. 2, the amendments promote the purposes of zoning regulations identified in Article 1 of Mansfield zoning regulations by encouraging the most appropriate use of land and protecting and enhancing the value of properties and protecting and enhancing natural and scenic resources. 3, the proposed amendments will help to implement Goal 8-2 of the Mansfield Tomorrow Plan of Conservation Development, the POCD, by providing the Commission with the time necessary to update the zoning regulations related to cannabis establishments. 4, the 18-month term of the moratorium is considered reasonable based on the adoption by the Connecticut General Assembly on June 17, 2021, of legislation to legalize the production and sale of cannabis/marijuana in Connecticut. Furthermore, the scope of the moratorium is limited to applications related to scale and production of cannabis and does not prevent other types of residential or commercial development during the term of the moratorium. 5, The amendments are considered acceptably worded and suitably coordinated with related zoning provisions.
Is there another page? No, that's it. Moved by Chandy. Second by Ward. Any discussion? All in favor? I think that's everyone. Yep. Okay. You know, it passed unanimously. C was the McDonald's more efficient drive-through. That's been tabled, I guess, till the next meeting.
May I ask if that has any effect on the field trip?
Oh, that's right. We were going to go there on the field trip.
So one of the reasons it was tabled was because the field trip is going to, we went, the applicant has gone back and forth a little bit on timing on this. So we do have, I believe we're going to go there on the 10th for the field trip. We wanted to make sure that you were actually viewing it in a field trip before taking any action. So
that makes
it's tabled
sense.
this evening. It may be on your agenda on the 21st, depending on further staff review of the application.
Okay. So under new business, we have on-call professional and technical services.
So the time has come, Mr. Chair. 3 years ago, or just about 3 years ago, the commission decided to do a request for qualifications to create an on-call list for consultants that can assist you in reviewing larger applications or applications where there's assistance or technical knowledge that staff does not have, given our backgrounds. And the reason for the on-call list was basically to streamline the process a little bit, so that instead of having to do a request for proposals for every project where the commission is reviewing the background and the qualifications of the consultants, that you instead are basically taking and going through that process and determining that the firms that you place on the on-call list meet the qualifications to provide that service. And then once a project comes in, we send a request for proposals to those firms on the on-call list and ask for them to submit a bid. And then you choose from the bids that are selected on each project. So that on-call list is scheduled to expire in May. And so it's time again for us to go out with a request for qualifications. We did include a draft of that RFQ in your packet. And consistent with the approach that the commission used during the last round, we are recommending that a consultant selection committee, I apologize, be established for the purpose of reviewing responses to the RFQs, and that committee be authorized to shortlist firms and conduct interviews so that they can make recommendations to the full commission in terms of the firms that should be included on the list. And so we use the same suggestion as last time, that for when it comes to the Planning and Zoning Commission, Derek DeLy and myself as staff would assist and be members of that committee, along with 3 members of the commission. So now is the time if anyone is interested in volunteering to interview consulting firms.
Okay, we need 3 people. Who would like to do this? It's fun. I did it the last time.
I would like.
Okay, Vera. I can do it. I can do it.
Okay, I'll help too.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Right, the officers have it.
The officers have it. Okay, there's nothing else we need to do on that tonight. Right?
There is a motion
We need a motion.
to officially create the committee and authorize the committee to undertake this process. So here you go.
I'll be glad to move.
Okay, thank you.
Ward moves to appoint a consultant selection committee for the purpose of reviewing responses to requests for qualifications related to provision of professional and technical services to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This committee has the authority to shortlist firms and conduct interviews in order to make recommendations to the full commission regarding selection of firms for inclusion on the shortlist. The committee shall be comprised of the following members: Vera Ward, Paul Aho, Carlita Cotton, Linda Painter, Derek Delai. The committee may also receive input from other staff members, including but not limited to Jolene Woodmansee, Planner 1, Zoning Enforcement Officer, and Jennifer Kaufman, Environmental Planner / Inland Wetlands Agent.
Moved by Ward. Second by Chandy. All in favor? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Okay, so we have a scoping for the Mansfield apartment redevelopment, which means that the university is going to build some apartments, but they're willing to take suggestions from us if we'd like to give them suggestions.
So, Mr. Chair, thank you for that very efficient and brief summary. So this is really just the start of this process. As I mentioned in my memo, the university is holding a scoping meeting on Thursday evening. If anyone is interested in attending, the link to register is in the memo. You will have to register in order to get the actual virtual meeting information and link. And so we will have additional information once that comes out. I did provide in your packet what we know so far, which is they're looking at up to 900 beds in apartments on the Mansfield apartment site. Currently there are 270, so a little bit of an increase in terms of the number of beds. As well as up to 450 parking spaces. So while we will reserve formal comments for later in the process, once we have seen the scoping presentation, I did prepare just some preliminary comments based on the plan of conservation and development and some other items that we know that the commission may want to consider. The one thing that we are still trying to work out is going to be timing on this. So the scoping meeting is this Thursday, March 10th. The comments are due by the close of business on March 24th. And typically these comments are sent in as joint comments by both the town council and the planning and zoning commission. So we are trying to figure out how to make that process work, given that we're not really going to have time to digest and prepare comments before the council meets on the 14th. And we also have advisory committees that are meeting next week, Parks and Natural Resources and Conservation Commission, that we believe will want to weigh in and may have some suggested comments for the commission and the council to consider. So stay tuned. We may have a special meeting, or we may be able to tag this on to your meeting on the 21st. So we'll let you know.
Okay, very good. American Rescue Plan Act funding proposals.
So we just wanted to update the commission. The council is in the process of evaluating potential funding allocations for American Rescue Plan funding that the town received. They are still in their deliberation process. A public hearing has been scheduled for their next meeting on March 14th to take public comment on the use of ARPA funds. And so we wanted to just make you aware of what the current proposal is to the council, and see if you have any thoughts, or if the commission would like to weigh in and provide any comments to the council as part of the public hearing process.
Yes, Vera.
I understand there's a special meeting Wednesday about this, so this may change in some way, perhaps. Is that correct?
I was actually out of the office today, but I did receive some information that a special meeting is going to be held on Wednesday. I'm not sure of the details yet. I know, but I do know it's related to ARPA projects and funding.
Is that going to be public? I mean, can we access that special meeting?
I believe all the meetings are live streamed. I'm not sure if there will be a public comment portion of the meeting. That is something that would be handled out of the town manager's office.
There is a public comment. I believe I checked the agenda and there is a public comment section.
Okay. Next item is a return to in-person meetings, potentially at our next meeting.
So yes, so you know, with the change in CDC recommendations, the council did vote at their last meeting to return to in-person meetings effective March 14th. So that would mean that for the commission, we would be looking at in-person meetings starting on March 21st. So I will say, for those, some of you have not experienced an in-person meeting. The rest of the commission, you know, it may have some mixed feelings about coming back, but I can tell you that a lot of technology has been added to the council chambers since the last time you were there in July. And staff actually had a training for over an hour last week on how to operate some of that technology. And I'm going to ask you to bear with us because there's a lot. And you know, we're gonna see how we can do this. And right now, you know, our suggestion is to go back, you know, fully in person due to the nature of what you do and the complexities with hybrid meetings. We don't think we're quite there yet as a staff to do that because we're dealing with public hearings. I know the school board has been doing hybrid meetings and has their recording secretary not only taking minutes, but also manning the meeting. And that's just something that, again, given public hearings and the decisions you make, we're a little uncomfortable trying to assign two duties to someone who's trying to participate in the meeting or is responsible for preparing minutes of the meeting and getting those correct. So if anyone has any questions, let us know. But other than that, we should be in council chambers at 6 p.m. on Monday, the 21st.
Katie, you have a comment?
So you're saying that we're not going to be able to have a hybrid meeting at all?
Well, I think it's something we're going to have to ease into because the manpower needed for that it's not simple, and we don't have outside staff. So for example, the council has, you know, it has an outside person that comes in to run their meetings. That's all done by us. That's done by Sandy, Jolene, Jennifer, and myself. So we've been handling all of that. So I think right now, you know, our hope was to try and just go with a standard regular meeting until we can get a handle on how we would handle a hybrid moving forward.
Katie, it'll be good to get out of the house.
Not when you don't drive very well after dark. It sort of puts the people around you in trouble.
We'll try to stay clear of you.
Please do.
Okay, Carlita.
I had a question. What are the safety protocols? Do you have plexiglass up or some forms of barriers or some distancing? Are we going to be unmasked?
So right now there are no, I have not seen any plexiglass partitions or anything else in the council chambers at this point. And the requirement for masking in town hall was lifted last week. That does not mean anyone who feels more comfortable wearing a mask is encouraged to wear a mask. But it's something that is not required of the general public or of staff at this point.
Carlita, you'll remember that Luann wore a mask all through our meetings in last July. So yeah,
and I'll continue to do so.
And anyone who feels more comfortable, just wear a mask.
Yes, definitely. I just
They have
thought
free N95s at CVS. You can get 8 of them free per person.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, when we really wanted masks, you couldn't get them. And now that they dropped the requirement, people are throwing them at you. So, go figure.
So I think it sounds like there may be some interest from the commission in moving towards a hybrid meeting at some point. I'm seeing heads shaking. So I think what we'll have to do as a staff is try and work with the town manager's office to figure out if there is assistance that can be provided. And with it being in the budget season, this may be something we need to ask to be added. Because as I said, right now, Our IT department has some part-time people who come in. They are paid to come in and video the council meetings, whereas we do all of that ourselves. We handle the live streaming ourselves. So there's no budgetary impacts, but to add 1 or 2 people to help with that a hybrid capacity is something we'll have to talk to the manager about.
How about if
figure
we
out how to
use
do.
American Rescue Plan funds to hire a new IT person? And that's legitimately caused by COVID.
Well, the commission can make that suggestion,
Okay.
and you know, you can offer that as part of the public hearing process if you wanted to make a motion to authorize someone to make that request.
Brian's listening in here, so Brian, tell your friends on the town council. All right. Anything else we need to cover tonight on PZC? We had a reg review committee meeting, and we are looking at possibilities for changing some of the transition zoning. Yes, Vera.
Speaking of transition zoning, we didn't really have any comment period on this Mansfield Apartments deal. I think that's a location that we would like to see them do transition buildings, not of the 4 or 5 story height that they have in downtown stores. And also the biggest worry is the sanctity of the Moss Sanctuary. I just worry about that area. So I think those two things are important to me. You speak of the access, the exits and all so close to the intersection now. And it is a big problem. The buses have problems getting out of there. So that's an important consideration. So there's a lot to think about that we would like to see, being that it's kind of on the other side of the campus over in our area. So I'd like to see them take care in that property development.
And that whole South Eagleville Road needs to be rethought so that people aren't going 70 miles an hour down there and killing people.
And those are some of the comments I put in just as a preliminary placeholder, but you know, I think we'll have more once we see the presentation on Thursday night and get a sense of the details on what they're thinking about. And remember, this is the first step in the process. I would anticipate, not to put words in your mouth, that the recommendation would be that they do an environmental impact evaluation on this site, given the change in intensity. And so, you know, if they do an EIE, then there will be another chance to comment, and we'll have even more detail at that point. So right now, they're trying to flag potential issues through the scoping process. And I think that, you know, you've identified a few this evening, and I'm sure we'll hear more from the advisory committees and the council as well.
Good.
Okay. Anything else for PZC? If not, we are adjourned at 7:03 p.m.
Great. Thank you all very much.
Okay.
Have a great evening.
Now we can go back to inland wetlands.
Oh, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. I'm so used to being done after these meetings.
Now it's legal for us to have the IWA meeting, which is called to order at 7:03 p.m. And members present are Aho, Corsi, Chandy, Cooley, Cotton, DeVivo, Fertoni, Plant, and Ward, Manville, and Wooch. So the alternates are not seated. Everyone's still here, right? Yep. Okay, we have minutes from January 18th. I guess we didn't meet at all in February.
No.
Ward moves to accept as written.
Okay, moved by Ward. Second by Plant. All in favor? Minutes are passed. So we're back to the gravel road on Davis.
Right.
From Davis Road.
So I introduced to you sort of the situation, but I wanted to update you from a wetlands perspective. So part of the Planning and Zoning Commission's motion on September 2021 was that the applicant shall work with the Inland Wetlands Agency to determine the best course of action to mitigate the impact of the culvert and road on the wetlands. So the way I did that was I issued a notice of violation on September 23rd, 2021, and I requiring the property owners to provide an assessment by a professional soil scientist detailing the extent of this disturbance in the wetland and upland review area, and a plan to mitigate the impact caused by the disturbance, and an implementation schedule for corrective actions. And so the BBs hired Ian Cole, who spoke with you at the Planning and Zoning Commission, but he's here. And I'd like for him to just sort of present his findings. And then I can talk to you about the way I'd like to handle this. And then I have a possible motion for you.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself.
Okay, all right.
So then I think you need to appoint Laurel as a.
Laurel, you're back in. Okay, Ian, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. Again, for the record, my name is Ian Cole, professional soil scientist, professional wetland scientist. I was retained by the BBs to investigate the site and describe the extents of the disturbances and report those back to the commission. So as discussed earlier, I think we're all familiar with the trail, essentially extending from the BB's backyard, going linearly approximately 1,000 feet north along the western property line is this 12-foot wide gravel trail, kind of constructed at grade. As discussed earlier, if you go back and look at the aerial photos that are provided through DEEP's website for the state, the 1934 aerials, you can clearly pick out the signature of the farm road that pre-existed back in 1934 when it actually was used for the farm fields that were along Davis Road to connect those to the farm fields that were up on 196. And so this kind of overlays on top of it. So, there's a long history of this trail kind of existing there. My investigation occurred in the early weeks of December. I think I was out there December 7th, if I recall correctly. As you're walking down the trail, I don't know how everyone on the commission, if they had a chance to ever go out there, but it's a very flat landscape. Basically, we're on this dense glacial till plain, 0 to 3% slopes, forested hardwood overstory. Very, very flat. The trail kind of blends into the landscape, probably, cuts and fill balances, we're talking about the trail probably at no point is more than a foot in depth. So, we're not talking about something that poses any kind of physical barrier. It's not at no point along its alignment is it damming, water on the uphill side. Nor were there any signs of concentrated erosion or concentrated flow paths as a result of this trail. It's a very flat landscape. It's a very low energy landscape. So as you go along the trail, you come to a point where there is a wetland crossing. I had a survey measure tape with me, and I measured the crossing of the physical wetlands to be 30 feet in length, and with the 12-foot wide travel surface with a little bit of fudging for the shoulders, I calculated the total wetlands disturbance from the placement of this fill from 1996 was a total of 360 square feet. So it's a small footprint. The wetland in this area is it's kind of cryptic. It's in the terms of wetlands, it's in a subtle saddle in between two more defined wetland systems off to the east and west. So much so that there's an 8-inch culvert that really there's little to no evidence of much water exchange between either side of the road. I mean, it's that flat in there. It's almost kind of like at a drainage divide. This is one of those wetlands that's kind of a wetland by technical soil morphology. You know, the layperson, most times of the year, you could walk through here and have 1 foot in and 1 foot out and might not even know you're in a wetland. So, you know, in terms of, you know, it really hasn't altered any of the natural drainage patterns of the landscape. It hasn't significantly removed any vegetation to facilitate the construction of it. Hasn't substantially changed the grades or topography. And really, you know, hasn't. The real thing I was kind of happy to see was that it didn't pose or introduce any invasive species into the area, right? So a lot of times you're walking down these forest roads, you know, the first thing as a scientist you key into is, you know, man, this forest road is just covered in mugwort, or it's just covered in some invasive species kind of ubiquitously along the course. That was absent here. Really, you know, it's really at an equilibrium with the landscape. It's kind of blended back in. It's kind of been reclaimed. It has a very low usage. Like I said before, the maintenance of the trail, you know, there's no rutting, there's no signs of vehicle, you know, heavy usage in it, no potholing, nothing that of maintenance that needs to be upkept. So it tells to the evidence of how little it is used. So with all those things being said, you sit there and you say to yourself, you know, what's the best course of action here? Does it make sense to remove this road? Is it doing anything to, you know, detrimental to the wetland? And it's really not impairing its functions and values in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, going back to the historic photos. So throughout the state, there were historic photos for 1934, 1950, 1957 and 70, and then 96. And then, you know, now we're into the Google Earth years. When you look at all those aerial photos, you can, you know, substantially see that road standing there. And then throughout the progression of the years of the forest kind of reclaimed what used to be pasture and stuff. You know, you can't see the footprint of it as well, but, you know, back into the 90s, you can still see that signature, you know, in the aerial photos. So it's had a long history of some type of intermittent usage. So I don't think that the road improvements that occurred 25 years ago have adversely affected the wetland in any way, shape, or form. And my express concern would be to necessitate going down into that area and removing the, you know, the superficial fill that was placed in that technical poorly drained area of soils. I think you open yourself up to the things that I was originally concerned about. You know, would it become a vector for introducing invasive species? You know, anytime you have construction equipment and disturbances in areas, you know, you always are presenting opportunities for, you know, while you're in there trying to improve something, maybe when you leave, you do wind up leaving it in worse harm. In my opinion, it's kind of at an equilibrium. It's really a low energy site. The risk of going in there, you know, would necessitate having to bring equipment in to remove that material, importing in other topsoil and plantings. I don't really think there'd be much of a benefit in doing it other than creating another disturbance in its place. So I would, you know, my recommendation to the commission would be to do an after the fact permit to basically ensure, you know, that it's officially recorded in the town, and you know, it ensures a mechanism for the town that the landowner adheres to, you know, the permit conditions. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you. Jennifer, you have a proposed motion for us, right?
Right. So basically, what I've recommended, or the way I would like to handle this, and I've not done this yet. But let's see, I plan to issue a citation and a fine, because in my experience doing retroactive permits where there's no way to kind of, we're not permitting it, so I will be issuing a citation and a fine. But the motion I have before you is to order the owner applicant to refrain from making any additional improvements to the road within the wetlands water courses or the upland review area without a permit. So that would be future. Linda, I don't know if you're there and if you can put up that on the slide.
Okay. Here's a motion. Why
Or
don't we put that forward and then discuss it?
great.
This is Chandy. I can put
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Move to order the owner / applicant to refrain from making any additional improvements to the road within the wetlands / watercourses or the upland review area without a permit.
Moved by Chandy. Second by Cooley. Any discussion? Seems like a reasonable thing to do. We've already made him block it up, preventing any further damage by just letting that sleeping dog lie. All in favor of the motion? Okay. Vera, are you in favor? No. Okay. Those opposed? Oh, you're not participating. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so everyone who was participating voted in favor? Is that correct? Okay. All right. We're good. Passed unanimously. Okay, and we have the McDonald's thing is tabled.
That's actually the new drive-through. McDonald's does not have new wetlands associated with it.
Okay. Okay. Drive-through,
And
right.
Mr. Chair, with
Yep.
with Ward rejoining the meeting, Manville would no longer be seated.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
thank you,
Okay,
Linda.
thank you for reminding me. Okay, new business application of White Oak Condominium Association for an installation of a wastewater conveyance system. So is that a new wastewater system or just a conveyance?
They're calling it a wastewater conveyance, but basically it's a new septic system. It's a community septic system to serve the White Oak condominiums.
Okay. All right, all we have to do is receive that.
I can put that forward. if
Okay,
you
thank you.
want, Mr. Chair. I cotton move to receive the inland wetlands license application of White Oak Condominium Association for installation of a wastewater conveyance system, file 1420-1 on Mansfield City Road, White Oak Drive, and Poplar Lane. Refer said application to staff and the Conservation Commission for review and comment, and direct staff to schedule a public hearing in accordance with statutory requirements.
Moved by Cotton. Second by Tony. All in favor? Okay, passed unanimously.
And you will have a field trip to that site on March 10th, the same time you're going to go
Okay.
to McDonald's.
Good. Is that an example of what we could do to increase density in places without a sewer?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Is that an example of what we could do to increase density in places that don't have sewer?
Yep, I think it is. This is I believe it's a deep community septic. It's a pretty lengthy approval process is the way I understand it. And, but I believe it is.
Mr. Chair, just to follow on to that, it would take changes to the water pollution control authorities, either policies or rules and regulations, as well as the zoning regulations. Our zoning regulations do reference the fact that the WPCA generally prohibits community septic systems unless they're to address environmental issues, which in this case it is.
Oh, okay. All right, so they
So
had a
it just-
different
I
system.
just wanted
and-
to alert you, it doesn't
Right.
mean that it can't be done, but that you would be looking at changes to both the zoning regulations as well as the WPCA.
Okay, so it's possible, but not easy.
Just
Right.
just something to be aware of.
Okay. So now we need another committee. This is the same committee, right? But just the
Just for wetlands this time.
wetlands, okay. It could be a different cast of characters, but it doesn't have to be. It'd probably be easier just to have the same people, right? Okay, someone want to put that forward?
I was just gonna say, I would be happy to serve on both.
Okay, I'll do both. I'll do both.
Ditto.
Okay,
So I'll be glad to move to appoint, the ward moves to appoint a consultant selection committee for the purpose of reviewing responses to requests for qualifications related to provision of professional and technical services to the Inland Wetlands Agency. This committee has the authority to shortlist firms and conduct interviews in order to make recommendations to the full agency regarding selection of firms for inclusion on the short list. The committee shall be comprised of the following members: V. Ward, P. Aho, C. Cotton, Linda Painter, and Derek Belay. The committee may also receive input from other staff members, including but not limited to Jolene Woodmansee, Planner 1/Zoning Enforcement Officer, and Linda Painter, Director of Planning and Development.
moved by Ward.
One correction,
Yes,
Mr. Chair, if I might, the staff person on this committee for the Wetlands Agency should be Jennifer Kaufman, not myself.
Sorry, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Right.
Jen and I rotate between the two consultants.
That's fine. That's good. Thank you.
do we have a second? Second by Cooley. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Okay. Now we have a couple of ponds that are going to get some pesticides. It's
Yeah.
in the communications.
Hmm.
Where are those ponds exactly?
So one is off of, it's like Summit Road, way, let me just pull that up. It's Summit Road and 44 in that general area.
Okay.
And then the other one is, I have to look to see here. Bear with me, I did look at this, but. Okay, that is off of like 32 near the Willimantic line, down
okay.
near Thornbush Road.
Okay. Okay, anything else for the Inland Wetlands Agency? If not, we are adjourned at 7:22 p.m. and we'll see you all in person a couple weeks from now. Bye-bye.
Right.
The meeting starting at 6 or at 6:15?
They're starting at 6. There was an error in the noticing that I've fixed since then, that because I had not changed the agenda from when we used to meet at 6:30. So
Okay,
always beginning at 6, but this time the public hearing began at 6:15 for.
thanks for clarifying the time. We'll be there.
And there'll be plenty of light at 6 o'clock 2 weeks from now, after we change the clocks. See you then.
Yeah.